Hello, everybody, and we are here on Sunday to check out a few of the series here in the North American Strikers Academy. First up, we have Party Rockers 2 versus, I believe, Chikara Chatting. So these are some veteran teams here, a lot of experience. Liari, of course, you have, I believe, a ton of experience with basically everyone playing on this on the field today.
Oh, I think you just cut. Oh, I cut out maybe.
Oh, wait, something with Discord. Don't worry about it. But we definitely have a lot of people here that I think have been around the block in terms of competitive experience, and now they're going to be here in NASA duking it out.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. Obviously, as a former Shikara chatting member, and someone who coached Japanese box, I'm so excited to see how this team will do. And I think Appabug versus Kilius is like battle of the Western Core Discord moderators, and it's a really funny narrative. And also shape shifting and Everlasting Taco seems to be in for today, which is extremely exciting to me. I think Everlasting Taco is like a release player who's recently gained a lot more prominence and popularity for being kind of good. And definitely improving and wanting to improve. So I'm excited to see how he does.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the person I kind of want to see a lot of, I think Taco is kind of the player to see. I think this is, I mean, not his debut in competitive per se, but I think it is his debut into a league. So we'll see
He
how he
wasn't playing
performs.
last week for sure.
Yeah, that was they were with Kotone, also known as Killmonk, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's interesting because Everlasting Taco is a bit more of a midfielder, so I'm curious if Kilius ends up playing forward or midfield, since I know he plays both roles, but Taco also plays like the Rasmus forward. So
yeah.
we'll see what he ends up picking. Looking like an Atlas ban here for True Danger, obviously.
Yeah, definitely a respect ban. I mean, at one point, I think a lot of people considered Drew Danger to be one of the best, if not the best, Atlas out there in the queues. A bit of a different landscape that we live in now, but I mean, still definitely something that you have to respect coming into this, and especially if you're gonna pick someone like the Era X as well. I'm not in. I know there are like specific counter picks to this on the goalie position. I think Rasmus comes to mind as something that a lot of goalies like to bust out. But we'll see if it ends up happening, as we do see a shift away from the Era. No, there it is. Yeah, Achilles looks like to be hovering Era, and so it does look like we'll see the very standard Era Mako X composition that we've kind of come to know and love. On the other side, we'll see what seems to be Era Juliet backed up by a Dubu. So we'll see how these two teams duke it out.
Yeah, Party Rocker strategy in the chatting is interesting to me. I feel like typically you would want to ban the Atlas if you're trying to kill the enemy team, but they didn't really pick a full kill comp. It can kind of do both. But with Specialized Training Start and Rapid Fire, they're probably finding a few KOs on the Dubu.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that era buffed up with the rapid fire, or with the spec training X buffed up with the rapid fire era, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of damage flying out very, very soon. Basically, as soon as we see people hit level 2. And speaking of which, Appabug earning himself a nice little level 2 by getting both goalie barriers, but Everlasting Taco is going to answer with 1. Now, Japanese box trying to get it downfield to Appabug, not going to find any purchase, and that's going to be Appabug sent off the stage, the first casualty of the match so far. Now, Evil Drew Danger electing to use the Tofu Fortress, and a back pass actually almost ends up causing an own goal from Taco, but hey, that's just the nerves, that's just the warm-up. Now, Appabug here to respond and potentially help get core possession again for the side of Chikara Chatting, but nothing's going to be found yet. And with a dash punch blown, now the scoring opportunity is going to be looking a little bad. And now that's a flip from Evil True Danger, Japanese box, assisting with that clear over there on the top side as we get into overtime here. Finally, though, Achilles is going to be sniping it away, and with the help of the NATO, nothing's actually going to be found. Now, Appabug with a scoring opportunity, and he finds it. A nice little shot into the top side of the corner, earns Chikara Chatting the first point of the match.
Yeah, solid patience by Alphabug. Chatting is definitely going to be looking to win this set. They're playing against one of the better scaling comps in the game, and there's a point where Dubu just is probably going to die that Party Rockers really wants to reach.
Yeah.
And they're going to want Jax to have good kills, get high in the draft prio, like he just found on Japanese Box.
Yeah, definitely. I think actually, a really good question to ask someone here who's a bit more in tune with the meta than me. I think this siphoning X is something that I think has fallen a little bit out of favor in recent times. I think most people have been electing to use slit kicks or just outright vicious Vambrace if they needed the healing, but looks like Taco's opting into the siphoning one. What do you think of that?
I feel like at least how my team has perceived it recently is that slick kick, or sorry, that siphoning wand is being more used than it used to be. It feels like it's picked a lot of the time when people want to deal damage and don't need the like core control from slicks. I think it does a lot for you. It lets you live a lot, and it really adds a ton of damage to you. Uh, the one thing that's a little more interesting is that since rapid fire's on the pool, you can't like, and he elected to go specialized over it. You can't really combo the CDR with that, but I still think it's a really good pickup. He should really outscale Bug here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think already we're seeing a lot of damage come out. The Spec Training already claiming a second KO in the match here is right now shapeshifting. Unfortunately, whiffing a strike means that core control will be lost for just a second. That only buys time for Japanese box to be sent off the map. Now, Blip from Evil Drew Danger goes wide, but a lucky little bounce saves the lock, but not for too long now, as now Kilius has a scoring opportunity, doesn't find it, but nice little bounce off the corner, courtesy of Everlasting Taco, gives them their first point of the match. 1-1 now on our first set.
Yeah, and good coverage by Kilius. I think you definitely it's only week 2 of NASA, but we already have seen Kilius start to come kind of feel like he's at home in the role of midfielding. Obviously, he's switched from goalie, and I think it's been really cool to see how much he's been able to improve at midfield and forward in such a little time.
Yeah, definitely. And as well, I think the transition between goalie specifically to forward is probably one of the hardest, I think, out of any sort of thing. And whoa! As I'm just chatting it up, we saw a pretty interesting explosion here from the black hole, but right now as this 2v2 plays out, the flip is blown from shape shifting, as now he's going to clear through the bottom side, giving Kilius a little bit of an opportunity to play, but that's not going to last too long, as now Ababug is going to be sending him off the pitch for now. Now Ababug has an opportunity to score here if he can get a past shapeshifting, which he does with a nice little punch. Now Drew Danger walking up to give a little bit of that midfield assistance as Japanese box sets up a tornado, but not going to find anything. And now Drew Danger once again with another clearing chance here. Ooh, and a tight little pass goes to Japanese box, getting that clear, but won't mean anything here if Ababa can't score, and it's going to be very hard for him. He doesn't have any stagger or meter to work with for now. And as I say that, Everlasting Taco and Kilius now marching back up this stage, trying to find that last lock, but it's not going to be found. And eventually, given enough chances, Ababug will score now 2-1 here on the set.
Yeah, I kind of liked what Party Rockers tried to do there, where they had Bug staggered. They knew, hey, Everlasting Taco doesn't have cooldowns, and they're just gonna walk away and focus on the core instead of trying to like overly chase down the kill. Unfortunately, they still let the core get to Bug, which is kind of the exact thing you don't want to have happen. So they get scored on, but it was a good idea. I like seeing that.
Yeah, and that's the game plan that I think we've kind of come to know and love from Chikara chatting. Obviously, as the team's midfielder, I'm sure you have a lot to say on that. But typically, it's been, yeah, like Appabug, I mean, basically never crossing onto his side of the field. Evil Drew Danger often opting just to try to get a lot of 1v2 clears and kind of that having that be the game plan. I mean, it seems like it's still continuing on to this day. I mean, but it looks like right now Appabug, yeah, is going to be paying for that, as he's going to end up being the target of focus a lot.
Yeah, that is essentially like what chatting tries to do with Drew's character pool. Sometimes Bug will come back and like take kill opportunities because Drew will try and hit it into a corner and bait the enemy forward or midfielder into standing there. But outside of that, Bug is very much focused on killing and scoring. He has those two things in his mind. He does not care about the core.
Yeah, and you know, a focused mind is a ready one, and no, that was really funny to see him evade, I believe, Japanese box own Maelstrom. But no matter for now, is one goal is all it takes for Chikara Chatting to take this set, and now Evil Drew Danger, with the help of Japanese box's Maelstrom, is going to be able to clear it. And on the top side now, scoring opportunity is there. It bounces right into the hands of Ababug, who's going to take that opportunity every day of the week. And now Chikara Chatting find themselves on top for the first draft of the game.
And Drew Danger first, not really what you want to see. I don't think the debut, outside of like maybe extra special if he wants it, has any like huge win cons. But luckily the Mako second pick and your Juliet still can get like a good size awakening or something here. and Dubu does take extra, which will stall out rounds a lot longer, and it gives him really good priority over the Mako speed because it kind of like nullifies the effect you're getting from it a lot of the time, and getting extra special reduces that CD and makes that interaction even more favorable.
Yeah. And it is going to be size going on the brawlers as well, and it's going to be the eras actually spark mirroring. And actually, one thing that I actually have a question about just personally, that hot shot being passed up. Oh, it actually ended up going to Shake. I was actually pretty certain that an arrow was going to take it. I feel like CDR is so strong in the character, but hot shot I guess doesn't synergize too well with the arrow kit. What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely think Hotshot on Air is a little hard to use because your secondary doesn't proc it, your beam only procs it if you're hitting the core, which like is nice to do, but usually your priority is to hit a character. And then NATO will usually end up hitting the core, but that's like one ability, so it's not that great.
Yeah, that's fair. And speaking of fair, though, things are not looking that way right now for Chikara Chatting. I mean, when Ababug rotates to help it clear, I mean, he was going for the KO there, but that's when things could get a little bit dire, as now we have an open net for both teams. Everlasting Taco using his last evade to potentially save his life, and seems like it'll be making the difference as he might get one more opportunity here, and there it is! A Bull Rush taking out that top side clear from Evil True Danger takes the first point over for Party Rockers 2.
Great goal. And I will also mention Hotshot on Mako is actually really good. A lot of your abilities end up hitting the core at some point. Especially the secondary hit, since you end up using that to like get the core out a lot of the time, you get a lot of value from that, and that actually lets him contend with the extra special Dubu a bit better.
See, and yeah, it looks like we already see kind of the power in play. The Mako is providing so much utility, though it is Kilius actually the one to find a nice little snipe with a Maelstrom on a Japanese box, but as of right now, Japanese box using the cooldowns to get the core forward, and now Opbug might have an opportunity here to get a dash punch off. One gold barrier goes down, evade comes out, dash punch is there, but it's going to be blocked away by the entire kit of shapeshifting. Now, though, Evil True Danger, unfortunately, trying to play aggressive, but losing a barrier in the process, but he is one or two redirects away from that flip, and there it is. This goal might be locked down for the foreseeable future, and now Avabug back up and ready to go. The flip eventually does come out from Evil True Danger. Dash Punch did not find the kill that Avabug was looking for as we get into overtime here. Now Everlasting Taco finds himself in a 1v1 against Drew, but it's being cleared away to the top side, and again, the core is going back and forth pretty quickly at this point. As we enter overtime here, a good strike war win from Avabug is going to be redirected away by Shape-Shifting, and now Avabug trying to find that last goal barrier so desperately. Everlasting Taco has worked Evil True Danger down, and Shape-Shifting is going to be the one finding it on a nice little bounce, sending it right into the center of the net there.
Alright, good damage focus by Everlasting Taco, knowing True Danger's out of evade, can't really get counter the damage, and that's really what we're going to see the X-Era comp try and do as the game continues, to try and score on the Dubu, just damage the enemy team and force them into these bad spots and capitalize on it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if you are the side of Chikara Chatting, you've got to be sweating a little bit. If you lose this this set, then that really opens up that sort of comeback potential of X-Era, having that extra set to work with for draft. So if if their first two sets don't go your way, it's going to be kind of hard to mount a comeback. I mean, nowadays with X scaling I believe much better than the Juliet, it's going to be a bit difficult to kind of play these later rounds. But as of right now, it does seem like Japanese Box and Drew are trying to prevent that from being a reality despite being down 0-2. Flip does come out from Kilius, finds good progress, but it is eventually going to be cleared away again by Evil True Danger. Everlasting Taco with a flip coming up, going to use that Mako secondary to get in good position, but not going to find that final goal barrier. A good evade comes out to predict the perfect pitch, but again, the goal is just not confirmed, and now the core speed allows Shape-Shifting to get a nice clear. The flip comes out from Japanese Box, but nothing to be found so far, but Appabug is going to win that strike war, and now things are looking a little bit better for Chikara Chatting, eking out their first point in the round.
Critically, Everlasting Taco used ult at the end of that round, and now Japanese Box and Aquabug, even though they're out of evade, won't be able to get punished for it. And there's this window that could have been there for the XR team that's no longer there. However, Japanese Box still taking a lot of stagger damage, and he's off the map.
Yeah, I mean, the core flip damage was actually pretty crazy there, and basically enabled Japanese Box to be sent off, and We'll see, though, if this power play can actually transition to anything. True Danger with the flip, not even needing to use it before Japanese box comes up, and now Taco has an opportunity again, but again loses out on the strike war, and things again are looking in favor of Jakara Chatting. The dash punch comes through to get that final goalie barrier, and even with the demo nerfs, Appabug will be getting that dash punch soon enough. 3 seconds earlier is still something to consider here. He might have it just about now. Corn might need to get to him one more time to secure this goal. The perfect pitch comes out, and shapeshifting with a good strike is actually able to save it, and now Evil Drew Danger is going to be the one finding himself under pressure with that Maelstrom. Flip eventually does have to come out defensively, but a good strike sends it right past Kilius, and now we are in overtime. Black hole in the center now is gone. Passing plays are a big option here. Taco with the flip as well, should it come to him by the net. But it looks like right now Japanese Box has a really good offensive play style going on, or it looks like he's kind of winning out on that offensive pressure right now, but the core is going back to the side of Evil True Danger. Finally, the flip comes out, the bull rush is there to secure it, and now Japanese Box is trying to get the core away from Everlasting Taco, losing a lot of his HP in the process as well, as now Appabug hovering back a little bit, trying to get possession of the core, playing a little bit more defensive, looking for that KO, but it's not going to be found, and ooh, an angle from Taco almost cost Jakara Chatting the round, but it barely bounced off the corner there, but not out of the woods just quite yet. Shape-shifting Lex uses the flip, pass up goes to Kilius, tries to get a demon angle, but not going to find it. And now Drew Danger, no, an unfortunate summer assault is actually going to be costing Jakara Chatting the round. And after so many tries, Evil Drew Danger looks so good, but doesn't mean enough. Party Rockers 2 is going to be taking the draft.
Yeah, Drew definitely looking like he kind of barely played the game over the holiday season, and I know early on in NASA he felt really out of practice, but I think by now he's been playing a lot more, and Shikara Chatting is warming up a lot more compared to some of their weekly results prior to the season starting and everything. But Kilius getting cast to last as a reward for that final goal, pretty important here.
Yeah, and importantly as well, I think no sparks left in the pool. So the biggest spark kind of counter we'll see is Japanese Box, which, to be fair, I mean, 2 sparks, spark a cooldown, and rapid fire is nothing to slouch at. That's I think gonna make a bit of a difference, but I don't know if it'll make as much as this cast last year.
Cast loss going to be pretty big for sure. Definitely Japanese Box getting the extra CDR is going to impact it, but I'm happy. Good to KO by Appabug. I'm happy if I'm Party Rockers right now. My Mako just got Glass Cannon. She's kind of fast. My X just got Reverb with Big Fish. He's stagger scaling, even though there's no spark left in the game. Good KO focus on Appabug too this time. And finally, Drew got Among Titans, so Appabug's like huge now, which could be really impactful for chatting.
Yeah, absolutely. And as he does find himself coming back into the game, he does potentially have that dash punch ready to go. But Shapeshifting has a myriad of defensive tools here on this Mako, not to mention his flip as well. But Appabug trying to create that little bit of pressure, and how Evil True Danger is going to find himself on the defensive. A little bit harder with Among Titans, but that's the trade-off that you take when you look for this. The beam actually going to make Appabug a bit smaller, which makes the scoring opportunity harder, but the Tofu Fortress is there from Evil Drew Danger in the midfield to make up for it, and now the rollout log is going to be there, but it won't mean anything, as now Japanese Box is going to find himself in that KO box. Flip does come out defensively from Evil Drew Danger, and whoa! Things look dangerous there as the backwards dash punch doesn't find the kill, but a nice little secondary on that Dubu roll is going to be finding that clear. Now Flip comes out from Kilius, going to be blocked away again by Evil Drew Danger. Appabug again, once more with scoring opportunity, not going to be able to convert, as Taco now is walking up the field with Flip. It finally comes out, and the bull rush there again to secure the final goalie barrier. Now we have an open goal, and Everlasting Taco is going to be swinging away here at Evil Drew Danger, but it's not going to find a KO just quite yet. The overtime core makes it very fast, and now the flip comes out from shape-shifting. Evil Drew Danger, though, is able to save it. Now Japanese Box trying to get the core to Appabug yet again. Wins the strike war against Everlasting Taco, which means Appabug will be there to secure it, not needing to blow his flip as well. Now Chikara Chatting find themselves advantage here on the third set.
There's 2 major things I want to point out here. With one, Appabug's increased size against the Mako lets him just disrupt her ability to defend a lot more, because it lets him hit stun her from further away, which is essentially how you counter all of her abilities. And then second, Kiliast, I think an adjustment I would really want to see him start making is to start shrinking the enemy more and like not caring about the core as much. Like a really good double beam there. The Dubu already has Among Titans. If you shrink him again, it's while Drew can pull it off like he just did, it's a lot harder to defend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you are so minute with Among Titans and the Arrow Beam. It's just so hard to do anything when you're that small. But as I say that, on the other side of the field, it's going to be Japanese Box and Bug, the ones actually ending up to convert a good beam setup with size. And ooh, the evade's going to be blown right before the core flip comes up for shape shifting. Good maelstrom from Japanese Box now. Pass goes up to Appa. Appa has the 50-50 and he takes it. Good strike down to the bottom side of the net is going to secure the second point for Chikara chatting on the set.
And Shakar Chatting's playing really clean. Drew's just basically holding, and at some point, Japanese Box and Bug make a connection and get a good goal. I think we definitely can see the X-Era comp scaling a little bit, and assuming Chikara Chatting closes this out, we'll see if they can finish out that scaling for the next set. But Chikara Chatting looks really good. They're kind of scary, except for right now when Jid loses both his barriers without using flip.
Hey, happens sometimes. Sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Is right now Ababug looking up to even up the field, but not going to find anything. The last barrier will remain the same. The only thing broken will be the black hole in the center, and a nice shot to the top side of the net by Kilias, recognizing that Drew wouldn't get there in time. Finds the first point of the set for Party Rockers.
I really appreciate players who are just really confident in at finding that angle, especially when the Dubu is moving pretty fast, and it's a little hard to see that. And great round start, good beam by Japanese Box, basically secures both barriers, and the NATO almost getting the goal.
Yeah, it's super well played from the two forwards here of Chikara chatting, but it's not quite enough to get through shape shifting, though it looked real close for a second there, and it's gonna look even worse now. The double flip comes out from Chikara chatting. I mean, what do you do in that situation? Nothing Shape should really do there, and now that's the second set victory for Chikara chatting here, going into set 4.
That is true forward synergy, holding hands in the enemy net, core flipping at the same time, and then emoting right after. I respect that so much. You can really see them developing.
Yeah, absolutely. And if that continues, I mean, Chikara chatting may be in a situation where they've got the momentum to win, and they'll probably need that momentum here, though. The aerials falling down to that Mako is going to be big, not to mention, standard X era scaling. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the rapid fire heavy impacts. I think this is a disgusting combination that allows you to rack up so much damage, but I know that I'm a little bit brain rotted when it
Okay,
comes to that.
I'm just gonna say, unironically, Aerials is overrated on Mako. Shapeshifting Thief that trapped, he should have gone heavy impact.
Interesting. What I'm interested in this take.
Okay, so Aerials, it's cool to get like increased speed, but heavy impact literally like gives both of your allies like because of your secondary being a global that impacts both your allies, you always get the CDR reduction. Because he didn't take it, he's just not getting that for no reason. I think I would have really wanted to see him take the heavy impact, and also Drew getting the stagger swagger. He's now at 12% increased movement speed from that, and he's hit the point on Dubu where with rapid fire and extra special, he is moving around the entire map and being really fast, and he can hold a lot more than he used to.
Interesting, and hold he will need to do as well as he finds himself in a double power play here. Pass goes to Kilias, blows that flip, and now Taco, trying to preserve his flip, is going to let that core fly, but he is going to have to blow it in the end. But he does get the goal, which is what you want to see from your brawler. Now 1-0 in favor of Party Rockers 2.
That is a very impactful goal. Basically, every goal that Party Rockers can score here is huge for them. If they get to the next set, they should win the game. But this is a really good set PowerPoint play where chatting can win the game. And unfortunately, Bug about to die. We'll see if they can capitalize on this power play. Sorry.
No, geez Louise, look at the damage that Everlasting Taco is putting out here. On top of that, I mean, you're one good NATO from Kilias from being half health, so if you find yourself in that situation, Taco could absolutely wreak havoc with, again, the specialized trading X. So, I mean, there's just so little escaping it, as Kilias is going to actually be the one finding a KO. Evil True Danger with a nice little roll, though, is going to keep the goal safe for a little bit longer, but will it be enough? Oh my gosh. These clears from Drew are crazy, but it isn't going to be enough. Given enough opportunities, anyone will score, and Kilius eventually finds that opportunity in the bottom side of the net.
Yeah, Everlasting Taco has scaled. He is doing a lot of damage. He has a lot of CDR from Reverb, and he has a lot of size. He basically has everything he wants. It's extremely hard for Chatting to win the game here, especially because they're just getting, like, the rounds aren't lasting long enough for Chatting to recover their evades. So they just keep on taking damage every round and losing the game. Like, is what's happening right now, actually.
Yeah, and if you are Chikara Chatting, I mean, what do you hope? You're basically just hoping for like a Hail Mary dash punch KO and maybe someone who has flip, but Shape's electing to play it safe. I mean, he gives up his own flip, sure, but that's still a Mako that exists there, and I mean, at this point in the game, yeah, that X era is just going to be a menace without Mako in the backup here, but I mean, look at what's happening. They cannot find this final barrier despite the best efforts of Japanese Box and Appabug, and this might cost them the set and, you know, as you said, the game.
Yeah, so they would be happy if the round was just stalling out if they had barriers up. But because they don't have barriers up, it's really scary. And they really want to have enough resources to be able to evade the damage that X puts out. But Everlasting Taco quickly finishes the round with a really good flip that Drew just can't reach to in time. I remember he has a very similar build that he had against my team during Big Fish Friday when they beat us, but in that game he also got Glass Cannon. And that like extra little bit of speed is actually like the impact here and the difference between him making these saves and not.
Yeah, and you know, I think that now that Dubu isn't the go-to goalie or for a lot, you know, go-to pick for a lot of goalies, I kind of actually forgot a little bit about, yeah, like the Dubu on ice, the skates. I mean, getting all that move speed and being such a menace. But yeah, with that not happening, I guess, yeah, that being basically the difference, we're gonna now see Chikar chatting in a really disadvantaged state here. We have primetime heavy impacts rapid fire cast to last on that Kiliist, and even though Japanese Box has an okay page of his own, I mean, it probably just won't compare here in this final set.
So the win con here for Chatting with what they drafted, the team player on Drew and the egoist on great finish there by Everlasting Taco and Kiliist. But the egoist on Appabug, along with the team player on Drew, can stall out rounds long enough to where at a certain point with Appabug procking egoist, and then Drew Danger using the team player to get the core to him, they can just end the round really quick. And that's essentially what Chatting's looking for now that they've been outscaled.
Yeah, and they'll definitely have to stick to that and a bit more probably to just survive. I mean, Appabug, doesn't matter if you get core flip if you're going to get sent off the map by the time you get 2/3. And Japanese Box looking no better as well, getting staggered himself, so definitely a hill battle, but oh my gosh, Japanese Box with a Hail Mary tornado sets Appabug up, I believe, for a dash punch KO or a punch KO. And that's going to mean Shapeshifting has a power play here, but it is a Mako with flip, and that does buy just enough time for Kilius and Everlasting Taco, and just like that, the power play is over. And if Chikara Chatting can't convert on that, what can they? Now the flip does come out from Shapeshifting, trying to snipe that final barrier, but it's not going to be found in Everlasting Taco. So big, so menacing here on the X, will provide so much forward pressure that, again, it's just so hard for the side of Chikara Chatting to overcome. And as we get into overtime here, Japanese Box desperately trying to get it upfield, using that Maelstrom as a little bit of cover, but it's not going to provide all the cover he needs, and now it's going to be intercepted by the Maelstrom from Kilius. And this team player is looking really good, but it's just not looking like enough. Oh, a Hail Mary shot to Appabug unfortunately doesn't secure it, but Japanese Box is there to pick up the rebound. And in this final set of the game, we find ourselves 1-1 with Appabug almost there on Egoist.
Yeah, there was a really important moment during that round where you actually, right as you mentioned team player, it basically hit overtime. And once it hit overtime, the core is moving so fast that it was so much easier for Chikara Chatting to find that space to score once the barriers were down. And that's essentially what they're looking for. Can Drew hold for 1 minute every round and win them the game?
Yeah,
so far it's looking good.
Yeah, it's looking good. And if Appabug finds those dash punch KOs, it'll look a little bit easier. And now we see Appabug able to get one, has the ego. It's a good backpack to set up team player, but fortunately they're going to lose core possession, unfortunately, for a little bit here. Now Japanese Box trying to get it through Everlasting Taco, but it is going to be a little bit hard as now, unfortunately, the Egoist doesn't go the way that they want. Appabug finding himself low on stagger with only 1 meter of evade to go. Japanese Box slowly working the core up field, but we'll see if anything can happen from that so far.
A great living there by Alphabug, just staying on his side of the map. Japanese box keeps the core up, stalls out the round. Overtime now hits, and Chikara chatting's in the exact spot they want to be, except they could die, and that would suck a lot.
Yeah, and we do see the flip coming out here from Taco. Ooh, and an unfortunate bounce. It's going to find that barrier, and ooh, it's going to be caught there on the Maelstrom, and just like that, Achilles is actually going to snag the point away. Now 1 point away from closing out the game.
That was huge. Drew barely misses the pass to Japanese box, or Japanese box barely misses the pass, one of the two, and ends up own barriering, which essentially leads to the round ending right when Chikara chatting hit their power point, assuming Alphabug was able to live, which it looked like he was going to end up living. They get a barrier, trade on kills, even map state basically. Everlasting Taco's kind of close to dying though.
Yeah, and Drew
Quickly.
does have that flip.
That's very big.
Yeah.
Getting that barrier enables so much because now they still have one. They can relax as long as they don't lose this here on this advantage state. And they don't. The core gets out. Oh, Alphabug dying to the Mako for no reason is really bad, but they can still win.
Yeah, the flip is there from Drew, just gonna try to find a clear. Oh, and accidentally does actually, but Everlasting Taco is there with the flip. Oh, it's gonna be blocked away actually by the side of Chikara chatting, but Japanese box right now needs to fight for his life, finds himself Maelstrom and beamed, but the KO is not found. Means that now Evil Drew Danger and Apapa gonna find themselves in a forward scenario here as we get into overtime, and Everlasting Taco, though, winning some critical strike wars, but it's going to cost him his life in the process. Now Kilius, in a 1v2 situation with a Maelstrom, just barely doesn't have it. The timing was just milliseconds away, and now that means the flip comes out for shapeshifting. The Maelstrom pushes him away. Apabug is in a perfect position, but can't close it out, and now Japanese box needs to give him one more opportunity. There it is, but he loses the strike war. And oh my gosh, Apabug is getting so many opportunities, but shapeshifting with critical hold after critical hold here. Now, Everlasting Taco and Kilius, though, need to return the favor, but they just can't quite catch the core. Evil Drew Danger, with that overtime team player speed, is going to be the one evening it up, and now we're at set 5.5.
Yeah, and it basically happened that round where the round stalled out long enough. Chatting, while they had some unfortunate deaths, they didn't have enough for it to not happen, where they were able to eventually choke out the Mako and get it around her. And Drew killing his own teammate.
Yeah,
his ultimate.
Unfortunate Tofu Fortress, and it's such a critical point. That might be it, but Apabug is there with a clutch dash punch. Now it's going to be an open goal for the side of Party Rockers 2. Drew Danger is trying to so desperately hold this final barrier. It's there. Shapeshifting with a clear. Gets a nice bounce off his own net to get the angles that he needs to make sure that Japanese box can't catch it. Back pass from Kilius. Back to Taco. Gives them a good position. The flip comes out, but it's going to be sniped away by the Maelstrom. Now Apabug needs to convert this, but the ensnare drums make sure that that just won't happen. Japanese box and Evil Drew Danger now on the defensive, have to hold yet again. Kilius with a critical strike war win, but it costs him his life. Now Apabug big, no dash punch, but has a lot to work with. The core comes up to him, but it's going to be shapeshifting, winning the strike war. Now Japanese box sending the core back and forth. Taco has the flip, has the size, has the X Maximus. No! The flip goes wide. Apabug has an opportunity to score, but is not going to find it. And now Everlasting Taco now has another opportunity, but it's going to be Japanese box winning at the bull rush, finds nothing. Apabug dribbling back to himself as well as we're in overtime speed. The core is going so fast, but the team player is there to keep the play going. The Maelstrom's there. It's going to be hitting up Taco. Japanese box has the flip, elects to use it, but is not going to find anything. Apabug cannot find this score as he uses his last elusive, and it's going to cost him his life. Now, 10 seconds left. Kilius and Everlasting Taco have an opportunity to close out the game here, but the team player is making that a little bit too hard. Everlasting Taco just needs to find that opportunity, but he's finding himself beamed and maelstromed and hit, and no core flip to speak of. Evil Drew Danger is holding, but he only can hold for so long, and just like that, a critical end to the game after so long in that rally. Everlasting Taco finds the strike on that up clear, and that's going to be it's going to be Party Rockers 2 finishing it off and taking the first point in the series.
Yeah, Party Rockers too, managing to clutch it out there. They outscaled. It was really unfortunate at the end that they kind of stopped respecting Apabug's dash punches as much, because I feel like in the last round, Apabug got like 4 KOs, which were a third of the KOs he got all game. And those critical KOs gave Chikara Chatting a chance to win. and they just weren't able to find those KOs early on in the game and finish the X air comp before they ended up scaling. And it was really cool to see Party Rockers understand their win condition at the end and continue to get to output damage throughout the rounds, even as they got more hectic. They still found really important KOs that they were then able to finish the game on. And also, at the end there, you basically saw what Kilius and Everlasting Talk were doing all game. They were in Drew's net, covering as much space as they could, and then making the clear angles really, really hard for Drew to see. And as a result, they get the win on set 5.5. Really exciting first game. I thought the series would be pretty close, and I'm excited to see it delivering.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, 300 redirects for Killies, 365 for Evil J Danger. I mean, I guess you're going to need that many redirects to get through. I mean, historically an iron wall, and definitely something to see here coming into game 2. But yeah, I mean, despite the X era scaling, despite the disadvantage from draft that it looked like Party Rockers 2 was basically a win was inevitable. I mean, it came down to the wire there, and I mean, in a goalie advantage game here in Oni Village, maybe things will be looking a little bit different.
I am a little scared seeing this because I know both of these teams play Octavia, and I really hope we don't have to see the Octavia today.
Yeah, I mean, my voice can only take too much. I have nightmares about some of the Octavia games I've casted. So yeah, hopefully nothing comes out. No Octavia ban, which means I guess it is a potential possibility. But given the fact that we saw a Rasmus and Juliet ban, I don't think it's a cast or chrono start.
Most likely. Although
Oh,
Killy is switching to the Octavia hover pretty quickly, putting Everlasting Taco in that midfield role, which is an
okay.
interesting adaptation to make. I think it
Well,
can work on this map though.
I guess it is there. And that, given what I know about Drew's champion pool, that's probably an IB midfield,
It's
right?
definitely Japanese box on the IME. That's his most picked character. He started as an IME one trick. He's definitely expanded past that now, but I enjoy seeing his IME. He's obviously very comfortable on it. I'm surprised what made him not go. Yeah, he just decided to pick Siphoning Wand IME on Egoist start over his Octavia, which is
Interesting.
questionable to me,
Yeah.
but I trust him. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess what they're looking for here is, yeah, just to outright look to kill. But if that was the case, maybe we would have seen a double siphoning. But I mean, on an ego start on Oni Village, that lack of mobility might be a little tough to surmount. But
Yeah,
we'll see how he does that.
I can kind of see like, oh, they're stacking damage on Octavia, obviously making it a little hard for her and making her burn evade so she won't be able to get to the Egoist power spike. But I feel like at that rate, just like you may as well match the Octavia since you play Octavia yourself. But
Yeah,
we'll see how it's definitely an interesting idea and it's working well so far.
yeah,
Although that's
definitely.
misspin costing off a bug the KO there.
Yeah. One thing I actually want to talk about as well is the comfort actually coming out here. I mean, Drew on the Dubu, the shapeshifting on the Kai, which I think is probably by far and away his most played goalie. Especially on an egoist start and on Oni Village. How do you think? I mean, I feel like it's kind of a classic matchup here. The Kai versus Dubu on Oni Village, just like kind of two different styles of play. But with the egoist shaping up, I wonder if Dubu could kind of do the things that Kai could do, right? By being aggressive, using the eject button. Of course, Dubu doesn't have the eject button himself, and Applebuck finds a really nice KO actually. But what are your thoughts on this specific matchup on the egoist start?
Definitely a classic one, like you said. I think Kai comes more naturally as like the egoist character, but Drew Danger is no stranger to walking up and making really aggressive egoist plays. I feel like from playing with him for an entire season, he loves to just walk up and start chatting in the VC about how much he's gapping everyone on the enemy team. Um, so I think he can provide a lot. We'll see. I think a lot of it depends on the awakenings they get. If the Kai ends up getting like a chrono boost or any sort of dash training, versus if the Dubu can get like glass cannon or something, both of those enable them to do that walking up a lot more aggressively.
Yeah. Notably, though, I guess with the Octavia contesting the Chrono Boost, it might be a little bit harder, but we'll see. Especially as well if, because the Aimi and the Dubu can't deny Chrono Boost too well. I guess Aimi kind of can with the extra dash range is pretty nice on that, but Dubu almost certainly can't. So we'll see how that ends up happening. And I don't expect Applebuck to be gaining any sort of MVP soon, especially not just because of his playstyle, but because he is a brawler on Oni Village.
Yeah, I will say Drew will deny the Chrono Boost if it comes to it. I know that for a fact, but he definitely doesn't want to. So right now, it looks like Drew is the round MVP and will probably have to deny that Chrono Boost if it comes to it. But we haven't even scored a goal yet, so we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I mean, Oni Village gameplay is definitely in full force here. We've been basically talking about Awakenings, had a full conversation, and yet no goal is going to be scored as we do see KOs being traded, though, occasionally, and that is setting up Japanese Box here for a nice little flip, and yeah, eventually, one goalie is going to crack under, what I think was like a 3-minute round, so well, first point goes over to Chikara chatting, but if that was any sort of microcosm for the rest of the game, we'll be here for a while, and there'll be plenty of opportunities for Shapeshifting and Crew to make a comeback.
Definitely, I think it's it's really interesting how Alphabug just manages to consistently find these KOs on even Oni Village. I feel like there's a point to where like surely like you just start getting used to it. Also, the court is slipping by everyone there.
Yeah.
Um, I think shapeshifting sometimes gets bored, is from talking to him and being his friend. And I think that was one of those moments.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, on Oni Village, right? Sometimes the
Yeah.
goalie can be their own worst enemy, losing the double barrier. We just saw that, I mean, literally like 15 seconds ago, and we'll see if that costs Party Rockers another point. But for now, it's going to be actually Drew and Taco going to be the next egos here on the pitch. Ooh, Shapeshifting finding a really good barrage to keep the core in play. Flip does come out from Everlasting Taco, but it's just going to be a past Achilles. The base drop is out as we get in overtime here. A good intercept from Everlasting Taco is actually going to be getting another scoring attempt onto the core, but it's not going to mean anything. And whew, the core is going really, really fast here in Oni Village, and things are looking really scary. And yeah, there is one slip up from Shapeshifting is going to cost them the goal, and now Jakar chatting find themselves 2-0 here on the first set.
Good goal by chatting. I do want to mention something I think is really important for midfielders, especially on this map, is to cover those like bumper clears. We saw in the second to last goal attempt on that round, Everlasting Taco kind of walked too far down. It got past him. Shapeshifting had to use Barrage to cover it as a result, which kind of led to that next goal, to the goal actually happening. And covering those instances is really important on this map for midfielders to do. Otherwise, your goalie ends up kind of looking like they're trolling.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of almost trolling, Shapeshifting almost losing control of the course speed there, but is able to use that barrage to recover it, and now it's going to be Oppum finding it, and whoa, out of nowhere, it seemed like Everlasting Taco wasn't going to win that strike war, but he just does. He takes it takes the point.
Yeah, confident strike war. I respect that a lot. Just being willing to go for it, to slot it into the nice little puffy angle in the top right. Good confidence for a player making his NASA debut.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the confidence you absolutely want to see when you are, in your debut here. You just lost your first game, but you still have a lot to prove. So, oh, and speaking of being proving, I mean, Everlasting Taco with incredible play there, sniping away Evil Drew Danger and actually getting one of, I believe, a critical strike war to set up Kilius for that goal. So, all of a
I mean,
sudden, yeah, Party Rockers 2-2.
he got the goal in the round before that. He got both barriers in the last round, and then he killed Drew and basically set up Kilius to score. That really good sequence by Taco. He should feel really good about himself, honestly. Almost blinking forward and getting the goal there, managing to find it and the kill with the flip. Kind of
Yeah.
putting on the carry pants.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, another KO as well coming out from a flip onto Japanese Box means that all of a sudden Party Rockers 2 are in prime position to reverse sweep the set, but Ababug and Drew Danger are going to be holding on for now, but ooh, it almost looked over right there with a nice piercing shot from Everlasting Taco, but Japanese Box able to regain core control with the glitch pop, and now it's going to go over to Evil Drew Danger once more. The flow state's there, but it won't even matter. Everlasting Taco, MVP performance out from this guy here, taking the reverse sweep on set one.
Yeah, he took the game into his own hands. Now the first pick in the draft. Unfortunately, Activity is going to be second to last. She has Fight or Flight, Super Surge available for her, some decent awakenings. We'll see if enemy team ends up denying them. Estelle getting Twin Drive on this map feels really good. You're able to blink around a lot more and just cover more space on a map, which is all about covering space. Meanwhile, though, the Drew opting for Among Titans again for the second game in a row, it does a lot for both X and IME. I think The fact that he's willing to take it and feels comfortable taking it is a really good enabler for his team because their characters just do so much with size. Octavia ended up getting that fight or flight though, so she's starting to scale.
Yeah, absolutely. But speaking of scaling, I mean, that's still an X there for Appa Bug. And oh my gosh, absolutely demolishing Party Rockers almost single-handedly, only getting that Tofu Fortress assistance at the end. And even without Japanese box there, that was a quick goal. I mean, that was a 5-second goal.
Yeah, they have Deadeye 1-2 punch now, along with Among Titans size. They're definitely able to make a lot more aggressive plays and pump out more damage. I They had a really good draft. So did Party Rockers though, and I think it's still winnable for both teams, and it just depends on which team plays better essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, I mean, Apabug with the dribble he plays, he looks so comfortable with the momentum there here, and now he's going to have another scoring attempt. The X Maximus comes out, but it's actually going to be Kilius using the base drop to keep the core away, but that buys enough time for Everlasting Taco to once again make a 1v2 confirmation here on that Estelle.
This is the power of Estelle and Oni. She has so much ability to just solo get goals and to impact the map on her own. And we're seeing Everlasting Taco pilot that to perfection right now. Great blink kill there on Japanese box. I'm not even sure if that was intentional, but if it was, he's the GOAT.
Yeah, absolutely. And now again, it's going to be a 2v3 situation for Chikara chatting. Ooh, and really close clear by Evil True Danger is going to keep that goal barrier alive. Shapeshifting, unfortunately, not going to do the same with his Giga Blast, but I mean, Taco almost has flip again. It's an egoist start, so that's going to be very, very big, but won't even need it, actually. The Crystal Thorns is going to be the one finding that final goalie barrier. Now, two egoists from the side of Party Rockers, all of a sudden in Evil True Danger's face, but it's going to be defended away, and now the Giga Blast is going to keep that final goalie barrier on the map safe. Japanese box trying to regain core control, but not going to find it right now. It's going to be Evil True Danger, though, getting it cleared out through the top side yet again. Demon Angle almost costs a goal there, but Kilius now, no flay state, no HP. It's going to find himself limping away. But oh my gosh! Again, Everlasting Taco with a piercing shot is going to ring true onto Evil True Danger. And that's a flip, I believe, gone as well from the goalie.
Yeah, that was absolutely huge kill and great score by Taco. I did want to shout out Kilius too, actually. I feel like he's doing a really good job at setting up Taco for these plays by backpassing to his goalie, backpassing to Taco while making scoring attempts. You can see that Kilius is observing the whole map and not just what's in front of him. And he's doing a really good job at setting up these pop-off plays for his teammates. Kind of playing the Octavia like a true midfielder.
Yeah, and also, I think, Everlasting Taco again. I mean, this guy is the star of the show right now. He's looking so good here on the Estelle and the Oni Village game, and I think he's going to be MVP. Yeah, I mean, there it is. It's such a well-earned MVP, definitely, but that might not be what you want when you have an Octavia on your team.
Yeah, he unfortunately probably the Octavia is not going to get cast to last. I'm going to make a wild guess and say that. However, the Estelle is managing to find all of these blink opportunities that just redirect the core around Drew. Now with Prime Time, she's going to be hit stunning a little bit less, but she just has so many more beams that she's going to be using throughout the course of a round that you can imagine, since Drew only really has Dagger, Swagger, and Among Titans, will impact the game a lot. And when you're smaller and you get hit stunned, you have like your hitbox is smaller, so it's easier for the core to just pass through you during that hit stun anyway.
Yeah, and also interesting choice actually. Evil Drew, I think Drew doing a very Drew thing with draft, taking the Stagger Swagger over the team player. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Drew just wants more speed. He feels like he just can't reach these pucks, and so he's relying on the plus 12% there to enable him to get to the core faster. Meanwhile, Japanese box with the team player, I think it's kind of a little overrated on midfielder, but I could be wrong about that. I know as a midfielder, you can pass it really easily to your goalie or your forward and get a lot of value out of it that way. It's just, I do see why Drew took Stagger Swagger. I don't quite recall what else the IME could have taken, so team player definitely could have been correct for her. I think it's a solid draft decision. Definitely one that's more Drew Dangery than other drafts.
Yeah. And Evil True Danger does look very comfortable right now, as even though he has an open net, he still is able to get those clears out, and Shapeshifting barely almost losing his own barrier as well. But that might be a reality just soon enough. Japanese Box and Ababug find themselves with Flip and an Egoist proc, and ooh, Killius actually with a good Strike War win means that Ababug is going to have to blow his Flip to go downfield, and that's actually going to cost him his life from the base drop. Now Killius is going to be the one taking a shot as well. Flip comes out from Japanese Box defensively, and Shape's going to be there to clear it out, but it's going to be Everlasting Taco finding themselves in the KO box, and now all of a sudden it's going to be Chikara Chatting going to be one of the ones finding themselves here with the goalie barrier in a power play. But Shapeshifting has Flip, has the eject button. Everlasting Taco again almost takes it through Drew, blowing all of Drew's defenses basically, and stalling out this entire play. And Killius, unfortunately, is going to be taken out once more, or I believe it's going to be taken out for the first time this round. The Flip comes out from Shapeshifting, is not going to connect with the core. And now Everlasting Taco finds himself trying to deny again, and he must, as Ababug finds the KO onto Ababug finds the KO onto Shapeshifting, but Achilles is not there to defend as well, and that's going to be Chikara Chatting taking the first point in the set.
Achilles, unfortunately own goalie, has spent too much time out of net, looking like a forward in net for that moment. Very important goal by Chatting there. They're down 2 sets. They really want to be able to reach the point where X scales. I think it's easy to me, Party Rockers 2 comps just looks better. I think if Chatting wants to win this, they kind of just need to somehow find these KOs, somehow need to have these miracle holds, which only really happen if Party Rockers 2 lets it happen. So it's a tough game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, things with like the fight or flight and the peak performance as well makes that harder for Killius, but as I say that, it's actually going to be Ababug finding a goal. Everlasting Taco electing to save this Flip, I believe, for the next round. But yeah, I completely agree with what you say. I mean, the speed difference, especially on a map like Oni Village, where speed is kind of king, I mean, that's going to make a world of difference. But wow, what a Flip from Everlasting Taco.
A great angle, the Oni Village angle, basically. It's really easy to get both barriers with one Flip, assuming that the enemy team is just a little bit out of position. And great capitalization, but it might not even matter because Ababug just gets the barrier right back, and now they're in an open state.
Yeah, and Shapeshifting almost losing his life, and I believe Killius, meaning to evade, actually ends up blowing his whole Flip, so we'll see if Party Rockers 2 will be able to score, but Everlasting Taco, I mean, is definitely making Evil Drew Danger sweat here, as again, there's one more scoring opportunity that really could have gone either way here. The base drop comes out from Killius, almost sends it in its own right, but Evil Drew Danger is going to hold out yet again, but there's only so much you could do. The speed and positioning from Taco and Killius, they're working so well here on the offensive plays, and that's going to be their first goal of the set.
Yeah, just hit stunning Drew Danger, making sure he has to stay out of position and not be able to reach the core, even though he has a ton of movement speed and can really get to a lot of cores that he really, you would be surprised that he's getting to. He has Stagger Stagger and Among Titans, which are the same speed awakenings he had last game. And it's very clear that he likes these a lot because he took them in my game too against him during Big Fish Friday. It's interesting to see his priority on these awakenings, which I don't think I've really seen from other goalies as much.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's just such a huge fan of the skates, but and honestly, I mean, looking at that piercing shot setup from Taco, I feel like I just got deja vu 3 times over, but it's gonna be actually Killius finding the goal with that Flip, and all of a sudden they're now series point here on set 3 from taking it over Chikara Chatting.
That is true, but Chatting's about to get 3 Egoist Flips. I would really want to see them use this well and win the round. They get 1 barrier without even using the Flip, so that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 1 barrier down. Flip comes out from Japanese Box. That's 1 defended away, but Ababug still has his. Gonna lose that strike board to Killius, but Evil Drew Danger with the speed is gonna save that. But unfortunately not enough to save it on the rebound. Ababug does find that KO with a Flip. Almost takes out Shapeshifting as well. But that's not going to be it. The Flip comes out from Shapeshifting. Evil Drew Danger has a Flip as well. He's walking up with the Egos. The shot is made, but the barrage is there to cover it. And now Japanese Box and Ababug have to find themselves rotating back for defense. The flow state from Killius is going to go away. The Giga tries to march the core outfield, but it's going to be predicted by the log of Evil Drew Danger. Now Japanese Box again almost has the Flip, but Killius this time is going to be the one getting Flip first. If he can get a few more strikes onto the core, Ababug as well, looking for any opportunity, looking like a shark in the water, just trying to find anything, but the core is just not going to come to him. Now Killius has that Flip, has the flow state. It's overtime now. Everlasting Taco trying to find anything. The flip goes there to cover, but they're not going to find that final barrier. But the snipe is eventually going to find it, and now Shapeshifting has to defend against his flip, which he does. One more opportunity here from Opabug, not going to find it. Evil Drew Danger now has that flip in Ego. It's going to be walking up forward. Everlasting Taco trying to snipe it with a piercing shot, not going to find it. The flip comes out. Opabug finds the KO onto Taco. Now a reverse power play situation here. Opabug with the strike, trying to dribble it off, not going to find it. Japanese Box a little bit too slow here to deal with the Octavia. Now Shapeshifting finds himself with Ego as the flip comes out, looking for a Demon Angle, not going to find anything. And now Opabug, one more opportunity is needed to sink that core in. Japanese Box passing it forward with a team player, not going to find anything. And Opabug again just cannot find the opportunity. The flip comes out from Japanese Box, but a Giga Blast from Shapeshifting is going to keep the core in play. Now Killius is going to be sniped away by Japanese Box's glitch pop. Now one more defense. Shapeshifting, does he have it in him? The flip goes wide from Opabug with a good redirect. He might just save it all, folks, but no, the bull rush is there. The Giga Blast not enough to save his life, and that is Chikara Chatting holding on for dear life in this series.
I think Shapeshifting just had like the best goalie sequences of his life. That was really impressive. That entire round, he had like 5 Giga Impossible clears that he managed to make. And ending up dying at the end to unfortunate spacing against Opabug's dash. Really hard to see that. That was almost perfect. That was like 99.9%, which is basically all you can ask for. Really impressive. And now this draft for Chikara Chatting, though, is really good. The Aimi gets Quick Strike on Ego start. The Dubu gets his skates. The Estelle has to deny Specialized from Chikara Chatting's X, and X still gets built diff. We haven't scaled yet for Chikara Chatting, but we're getting there. And this round is a lot scarier than last round was.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Evil Drew Danger, he's got 3 move speed awakenings. 4 move speed awakenings with the momentum boots. This is a fast little Dubu here. And if that keeps up, Evil Drew Danger is absolutely going to be in his comfort zone, which that's something you just don't want to see if you're any team basically against this goalie right now. And now things are looking really good. I mean, Everlasting Taco already going to be sent off the map into KO, and yeah, Killy is basically relegated to defensive duty pretty much this entire point.
Yeah, and we see now Opabug's team, Chikara Chatting, is a lot more able to find these KOs. With Aimi having Quick Strike, they're able to keep the core. They should be able to find Egoist faster every round than Party Rockers, especially because they're burning all these evades. And they're winning the Egoist energy economy. They're winning on damage. All that blue team can really do now at this point is find these like cheeky little snipes with Estelle beams and setting up like quick little Octavia movement plays. But it looks really hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even though it was a good attempt from the dribbling from Killius, Evil Drew Danger has that move speed to meet it. But that's the win con actually right there. Unfortunately, Killius is going to whiff the flip. But yeah, that cheeky Estelle beam, which is something that we've seen quite a bit of so far this game, is going to be the one opening up the goalie barriers here now for Chikara Chatting. Japanese Box trying to get the core past Shapeshifting, but that's a Kai with cooldowns, with the flip, with the Egoist now, and not even going to be needed actually. A snipe going to be found from the Sonic Boom by Killius. Takes the first point of the set.
Yeah, good primary by Killius, and also it was really unfortunate actually. Japanese Box barely missed a glitch pop that would have staggered Killius, and had that hit, Killius would not have been able to set up that primary as well, and there was a point in that round where Chatting was about to reach their potential to actually score. And unfortunately, there was just minor misplay that ended up not letting that happen, but Oppo with the great double barrier take using the X-ult fantastically for the strike reset.
Yeah, and there's a flip coming up for Ababug as well soon. Japanese Box as well already has a flip of his own, but a good strike war by Everlasting Taco means that maybe it's an offensive play for the side of Party Rockers too. Ooh, but it's going to be defended away, but eventually taken by Killius and Everlasting Taco. The flip is there. It's going to be sent down. Nothing Evil Drew Danger could really do. And now, again, Chikara Chatting find themselves 2-0 down on potentially series points.
Party Rockets looking really clutch. Taco holding the flip right until it's basically guaranteed, showing, like I mentioned earlier, confidence on this stage. And he's definitely been having his pop-off performance and pop-off game. And I feel like it's basically all you could ask for from a sub. I don't know what Party Rockers' situation is that resulted in them having him in, but it's a wonderful a performance from him, and I'm really impressed.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it's an open goal for this side of Party Rockers, or sorry, for the side of Chikara chatting, though. Flips do come out from two members of Party Rockers. Everlasting Taco has to limp away to get that orb, but he does have the energy coming up. Killy's trying to make a dribble play, not going to find anything. Shape-shifting with a nice little save with the barrage. Hoppabug not going to find the KO as well. Everlasting Taco has it, though. The combo that we've seen time and time again. He's going to find the core, go past Evil Drew Danger, and Party Rockers 2 will find themselves victorious here on the series. Excellent breakout performance here from Everlasting Taco.
Yeah, Kelly is the true leader of Westercord, and I know finishing the game with an Estelle primary, perfectly syncing both the enemy goalie and the core always feels amazing. Shapeshifting with a ton of amazing goalie sequences, just managing to hold some really insane situations that looked undefendable. Party Rockers 2 looks like a playoffs ready team, and I'm really excited to see how the rest of the season goes for them now that they started 2-0.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's take a look at these redirects here at Odie Village. I mean, 9 goal participation from Everlasting Taco, 231 redirects. I literally 150 more than Opabug. Of course, an Estella versus an X on the Oni Village is going to be favored towards Estelle for getting that redirects, but 150 different touches on the core, and so many of them critical as well. I mean, we saw like 5 or 6 goals basically go in because Everlasting Taco basically did the Estelle combo right in front of Evil Drew Danger's face, and there was nothing Evil Drew Danger could do in so many of those situations. Not to mention as well, right, those 3 KOs, 2 of them being really critical snipes onto Evil Drew Danger in the earlier sets. I mean, match performance, MVP of the game, absolutely for Everlasting Taco.
For sure, I agree. I think while both of his teammates had amazing plays also, it's hard to argue that the sub didn't have an insane impact, and it's hard, yeah, to not say he's the MVP. I do think chatting, they ended up coming into that game with Siphoning Wand on Japanese box and Slick Kicks on Oppabug. I feel like that really didn't pay off. Oppabug's not really the type of player who touches the core much, and while X does get other value from Slick Kicks too, I think we really saw that game just Japanese box struggle to impact the map as much as Everlasting Taco was able to, even with the quick strike advantage, because he just didn't have the move speed. They were able to get a lot of value out of the damage that he provided, but I feel like they could have just had Oppabug equip the siphoning and basically get the exact same thing, but also have core control.
Yeah, and 17 KOs. I'm no slouch in terms of damage or KO pressure, and I believe a lot of them really went on to, well, they went on to all 3 members. There were a lot of situations where Shapeshifting also found himself scored into his own net, but it seemed like that Octavia pick, which we were which we were worried about coming into the draft here, really didn't end up paying off all too well. It feels like Kilius definitely had to struggle a bit to make the plays. We weren't really ever seeing any of those situations where Octavia just completely takes over the game with that speed. I feel like before it happened, there was always damage from Japanese box, always danger from Appabug that got onto him and made sure that there was an easy confirm to get the KO, which it seemed like Appabug and Japanese box were doing with some consistency there.
Yeah, definitely chatting is like that team that is just good at setting up KO because Oppabug will always look for it. And I think that's actually something that they're better at doing with Japanese box than they were at with me because at that time I didn't have as great of an understanding on how to set up for KOs like that. But I feel like they've really drilled into Japanese box like where Oppabug wants to have the core, and specifically also Drew just gets the core more and is able to do that setting up for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And excellent play from both teams. I mean, both of these, every league, both leagues, and every team in both leagues seem to be so competitive. We've had so many close games come out from out of nowhere essentially. The previous day series were all excellent. The series today so far have been pretty good as well, but moving on, we're actually going to be seeing more veterans come into play here as we see Lumos alongside his crew with Orbits going to be facing off against Core Requiem, which is going to be in of Striker Kai's, Gemini and Twisty today. instead of Loki NB in that brawler position. So we'll see what this team can pull out today with, again, another substitute.
Yeah, this is actually really interesting. I think Loki and B is a player who's notable for finding a lot of dash punch KOs on Juliet and applying that to other characters now. Very good at finding those little KOs, which is actually their playstyle that I feel like is reminiscent of Chikara chatting, where you just trust Gemini to hold, the forward finds KOs. Twisty, in my experience, feels a bit more like it's weird. He plays X a lot. He plays Intaro. His secondary is X. And then I feel like how he often plays is just kind of like not interacting with the core too much. I feel like he's not as good at finding KOs, but he has some like neat scoring setups that he'll do. So I don't think he's overall as like well-rounded a player as Loki and B, but he's still a competitive player, and I know they've been playing together a fair bit, particularly in Westy Wednesday. I believe Twisty, Josh, and Xeno Gemini played together. Obviously, this is Striker Kai instead of Josh, but they still have a bit of familiarity with each other and how to play with each other.
Yeah, and one thing I think as well to talk about Twisty's champion pool, I definitely feel like his Centauro is a lot more scarier than his X. I believe that in solo queue, kind of given the opportunity in most games, he will pick that Zentaro over other brawlers. But I have a feeling he's going to be able to pick whatever he wants because I feel like Striker Kai and Xeno Gemini are both players that have that key pick that often draws a ban. Of course, Striker Kai, but Xeno Gemini as well, basically being I think one of the top two, if not the top Kazan goalies in the game. A very unique pick that I think the only other player kind of at this level that could pull off is Moffin Koei, right?
Yeah, I think Mofin Kobe is the only one who's played him for sure. I know Lily Bun's been practicing her Kazan a little bit, but yeah, definitely Moffin Kobe is the only other person. And Striker Kai also has an Octavia. There's definitely a lot of ban threats on Korak Williams' team. Twisty has like 1,500 Zentaro games and then like 300 X games. So that's a blessing for him. If he can end up on the Comfort Zen, I think this is a really good matchup for Core Requiem. I feel like after watching Orbits last weekend, even though they're individually good players, Lumos teams kind of have this tradition of not really scrimming.
Mm.
And when I watch Orbits, it feels like they haven't really had the time together to figure things out. And Ignis is someone who has definitely had like good tournament performances in the past, even though he's a bit more for fun in solo queue. During notably CCC LAN, Ignis like popped off quite a bit and had a lot of like people saying, "Hey, wow, Ignis does perform at tournament." Um, but they haven't had much time together. Ignis, I know. So I actually played with him for Play Better, Win More Octagon, and around that period, he hadn't really played the game much in a while. It's been about a month since then, and I know I've been seeing him stream a little bit. I'm not sure how much he's been playing the game. I haven't really seen him in the queues too much, but he definitely has been with the game for a while, and he has a lot of confidence on characters like Kazan and Zentaro. And I think this team is basically like, can Lumos kind of figure something out? Uh,
Yeah.
s- Unfortunately, Spencer's more of a range goalie and not like that melee hold on forever goalie. So they have a little harder of like, they can't make as many mistakes as melee goalies teams can. Because if
Yeah.
you lose the core, you kind of get scored on.
Yeah, and as well, I mean, speaking of goalies that hold on forever, I feel like that's Xeno Gemini's wheelhouse, right? I feel like that's what he's known for. Before the Kazad, it was the Atlas that was often banned away from him. So we'll see. Definitely a kind of an interesting matchup here, and seeing how that the goalie differences will play out in the midfield, which I believe Lumos is playing right now. So we'll see how those two will duke it out between Striker Kai and Lumos. Another thing as well to talk about, I think, is I like to use old school versus new wave narratives a lot, but something I'm kind of interested in seeing as well is seeing the two Zentaros duke it out. Ignis, of course, you mentioned earlier, a huge Zentaro player, especially back when he was, at his prime, streaming 9 hours a day, playing this game and basically exclusively playing that Zentaro every chance he got. Versus, the 1,500 games of Twisty, who also plays Zentaro to quite a high level. So I'm interested to see if both of them will ego it out, right, and see who's kind of sitting on the Zentaro throne today.
Yeah, this is definitely like one of those because I feel like Twisty probably like at least from what I know of Twisty and when he really started playing the game, it feels like Twisty probably wasn't around for most of Ignis's era.
Yeah.
Uh, So they're like two players who play the same character. Not like entirely, like their secondaries are a little different, but the main character is the same. And seeing how they play it differently, and because I know Ignis is someone who has always had like these like he just grinds like really minute interact like bugs or like glitches that he can do or like interesting like interactions and we'll just pull them out. He doesn't really care too much about like playing the game traditionally. He kind of tries to find these like out of the norm creative ways to win, which I think is neat to watch and is pretty cool and it is part of why his stream is so good. So excited to see how this game ends up going.
Definitely.
I'm really
Yeah,
loving it.
definitely an interesting matchup. Again, I think Core Requiem also being generally new to the scene, kind of the only veteran, I guess the only really veteran on that team, the Xeno Gemini, another goalie that you've had actually for NASL Season 1 with the Prodigies, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, I have previously played with Xeno Gemini, and okay, Twisty actually mentioned in chat right now that Ignis coached him a lot, which I did not know about that lore. So this is like student versus the master, which is even cooler of a narrative.
Yeah.
And then
Oh
respect banning
no!
the
The
Zentaro.
Zentaro is gone. Yeah, it's actually Ignis the one banning it out. His teammates didn't ban anything, but it's gonna be the Kazan as well banned out from the side of Core Requiem. It's definitely, yeah, a character that I think does counter the hold it down forever melee goalies because you know you sit on them and they eventually do die, but and they don't really have like a way to escape it. But going back to it, we are going to be seeing the X mirror, and there it is again, the X era Mako, which is something that definitely has received some major nerfs recently. The Chrono Boost nerf, the Castellas nerf, the direct Mako nerfs as well. Not quite the dominant composition that we've seen before, but still something to be reckoned with. Especially here, we see it mirrored actually by Core Requiem as well,
Yeah,
with the exception of the Kai.
yeah, two really important things to note. Striker Kai plays Kai, not Era. And also, so they Core Requiem obviously plays Kazangoli too, but they read that the Twisties and Taro would get banned out, so they banned Lumo's secondary. Great double barrier on start there by Striker Kai, by the way. But they banned Ignis's secondary and forced the X mirror. And this is the character Twisty plays the most besides Centauro. So I feel like this is where Twisty is more comfortable than Ignis, even though Ignis obviously also plays X. And great shot there by Twisty finding the goal.
Yeah, and one thing to notice as well here is that we have a double Vambrace here on the specialized training start for the Kai and the X on Core Requiem side versus the siphoning and slick kicks from Ignis and Lumos. I think when it comes down to it, there might be a potential damage scaling issue here from the side of Core Requiem, which might be the way that they match this X era potentially here in later sets.
Yeah, I think so they can definitely find some like random edge KOs. I don't think they should. How I should see this game going is that Lumos, Ignis, and Spencer should just be able to get the core around the vicious Vambrace Kai and win the game. However, there's definitely a real world where like they just get outskilled. Xeno Gemini holds forever and they just get scored on. Striker Kai finds random edge kills with Giga, but the comp difference, the air is so much better here than the Kai. This should
Right.
be like in Orbit's win if they just perform to the level of their comp and don't get like doomed in Awakening draft.
Yeah, and we are seeing already a little bit of disparity of what's going on right now. Twisty being the first person to be kind of staggered in this game as we enter overtime here, and he's going to be bounced around, but he's going to end up actually surviving the opening, only to be finished off by Spencer. Now Ignis with the flip, not able to get the KO, and Striker Kai now able to stall out for just a little bit. Lumos trying to find a nice shot off the drum in the center. Ignis trying to confirm the goal here, but nothing's going to be found. But he does eventually get the Strike War win with some assistance from Spencer, and now we are tied up even in this game.
Yeah, important goal there. Xeno Gemini not using the flip and managing to get past Striker Kai. They're like I feel like so on paper, right? Xeno Gemini is going to be a way like more defensive goalie than Spencer. They're stuck in the Mako Ditto. Mako is kind of just a defensive goalie, so it's definitely a good spot for Zeno to be in. It's just he needs to actually hold. And there we're seeing Striker Kai managing to secure the quick goal, and they just want to finish this out really quickly with a 3-0. They do not want to get sailed on by X era. They don't want to have to just hold forever and ever and eventually just not be able to.
Yeah. Yeah, and if Lumos and crew can claw out a set win, I mean, when you're X era, anything is important, and Twisty actually gonna be the one barely surviving, but whoa, all of a sudden Xeno's Gemini finds themselves KO'd by, I didn't even catch it, what did he get KO'd by?
I think it was the X spin, pretty sure.
Uh,
And as a result, they're able to get both barriers. They have both barriers still up. Ignis dies, but as long as Spencer and Lumos can hold here, maybe lose one barrier, burn the flip for it, they're in such an advantage state.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, the flip from
The-
Twisty's gonna miss, yeah.
Yeah, they're able to hold both, which is huge. That's everything they want. Now you're just looking for Ignis to get a quick little goal. Unfortunately, burns the dash and the ult, doesn't get anything from it. And then his team loses a barrier, almost loses two, thankfully keeping the second one, which is going to be huge, as Ignis should be able to get another scoring opportunity soon. However, great Giga by Striker Kai managing to get the barrier.
Yeah, and right now with both nets open, oh, it's going to be hard for that Mako to find the move speed that she needs. It's going to be Core Requiem actually kind of taking the set with a slow roller into that bottom side of the net, and Striker Kai earning himself that MVP.
Yeah, I didn't realize Spencer took Strike Shot. That isn't really that good. Powerhouse Pauldrons is typically seen as a choice on Mako. Her passive strike increases with her size, and it just gives you a lot of what you want. Um, Taking the Demolitionist now, going to cover for the lack of Powerhouse, but
Heavy impact on
still,
Mako.
yeah, heavy impact on Mako. That's huge. Uh, Zeno able to opt for that. Now, like, the X Kai, who managed to take the first set, have quick strike on Kai. They have heavy impact on Mako, which kind of makes up for the lack of slick kicks on Kai to a degree and lets them just get these goals that they want easier. Which, if I'm correctly, I'm really happy right now.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing of note as well, I think, with the quick strikes and the egoist gone in the same draft, there's not quite yet the energy, the two awakening energy Exodia, but that still, I feel like, yeah, like you mentioned earlier, the quick strike is going to make up for the lack of slick kicks, but I think Lumos with the egoist, no slouch either, so we'll see. But as I say that, actually, a crazy bounce out of nowhere dimes it up to Twisty, who just sinks it in for the first point of the set.
Yeah, you definitely would hope that orbits can basically hold long enough to make use of Lumos Egoist. Unfortunately, it's pretty hard to get to that point now that Core Requiem has heavy impact and quick strike on Kai. We'll see, but both teams have their win conditions. It's just currently Core Requiem seems to be playing to theirs better, even if you can argue that like the Era team's a little worse off or better off.
Yeah, and Ignis is going to be finding that goal with a flip, 1v3. Bit of a clip moment, as Striker Kai and Twisty are going to be limping away despite the Van braces. But, I mean, it's just as you said, I do feel like Core Requiem have been playing to their strengths a little bit. And I think also this 1-2 punch from Twisty might come into play very, very soon in terms of just simple damage scaling. Ignis picking up the big fetch, and of course size is always appreciated in the next stagger as well, but I think that's already going to be a little bit of a difference in damage. So if Lumos and Ignis don't get these kind of early barriers, which they have been getting, mind you, that damage maybe potentially will add up.
Yeah, the Kai Giga along with the X just punching is really strong, and we see that right there. If that was aimed a little bit better, he would have died. Same with that. Managing to clean up the kill now with Spin, and with Flip in the enemy net, this should be a goal.
Yeah. Ooh, and the specialized Giga claims another victim as well. This time it's going to be Spencer, and Twisty with clean passes down to Striker Kai, I believe, is actually going to preserve his core flip, which now Core Requiem find themselves, I believe, a little bit advantaged here coming to potentially the final point of the set.
Yeah, really smart play by Twisty, knowing that Striker Kai really should be able to find that goal as long as he wins the strike war and gets it to him, which he's extremely advantaged to win. Smart, intelligent play, and now hopefully Twisty with this flip can find at least one barrier, finds one without the flip, which is even better, and then wastes the flip. But that's okay. He had fun.
It's as if he flipped, to get that barrier. It's the same game state at the end of the day. Smile, but
True.
but it is something you hate to see, especially in these series here where it is getting fairly close. Though Lumos and Striker Kai, both midfielders here with flip, both goalies with flip as well. So we'll see who uses their flip better. As right now it is still a power play for just a moment longer. The flip actually comes out, but it doesn't save that barrier, unfortunately. Maelstrom does buy a little bit of time and gets a little bit of damage here on a Striker Kai, but ooh, Ignis though, with a nice little KO, is going to mean that Xeno Gemini is going to have to probably blow a lot of resources here, but he's actually holding, doesn't even need to use his flip. Now we are entering overtime here. Xeno Gemini again, that flip that he saved may come pay him back in dividends, but it's going to be Twisty getting a Strike War win, which means that core flip is now still around for just a while longer. Pass from Lumos to Ignis doesn't quite find the goal they need. Striker Kai with a nice little shot off the drum does not find the goal either, and now Twisty is going to find himself in the snare drum, which sets Ignis up perfectly to get a nice hit stun with that bell ringer. And even though Xeno Gemini saved the flip, he never got the opportunity to use it.
Yeah, the size there actually helping Ignis a lot, letting him space the spin, so it's harder for Xeno Gemini to react with the flip. Still possible, but the window is a fair bit smaller, so it's definitely difficult. And now with triple flip up and on match set point, this is a pretty good window for Orbits to get the goal. And Ignis, wow, insane amount of damage there with flip and all his abilities.
Yeah, a little bit of X lore, something that we've come to know and love from the character. That's going to be Xeno Gemini again, never using the flip. The flip comes out from Lumos, which sets Ignis up for a Strike War win against Striker Kai. And that's, I believe, a reverse sweep on the set by
Yeah,
Orbits.
that was really clean. That last round was like everything you want to see an X player do. The entire enemy team was all in one little area where X could just spam all his abilities. He hit stun them with core flip, got everything hit, and just went to town. And X lured it up. And as a result, his team gets the set win. And that's really important for this X era that now just got rapid fire and chrono boost.
Yeah, and that's absolutely going to be a bit of an issue for the side of Core Requiem here coming into this third set. And like we mentioned at the beginning of the game, X era will scale better than Kai era here, especially with Mako goalies mirroring both compositions. So yeah, I mean, teams got their bisses, and that's going to heavily favor the side of Orbits here coming into this next set.
It also feels like with Ignis having the siphoning versus the Vicious on Twisty, he just does more damage. So as long as Orbits is able to hold, which they weren't able to there, these rounds, if they get stalled out, are in such a more advantaged state for the side of Orbits, especially if Xeno lets those little barriers slide by. Clean beam by Lumos, streaking both Kai and the core and getting it right past him.
Yeah, well played and well positioned. And we saw Lumos, I believe, last week substituting in for Last Call and Brawler, but he's going to be here on the midfield, which I think he was the midfielder that won OSPL, so historically a good midfielder as well, and he's definitely proving it there. Absolutely, I think putting a ton of work here in this series so far, and it's just been the first game so far. So looking forward to see what Orbits can pull out for us here, as Lumos already playing so aggressive with the flip. Got to get one barrier in the process.
Yeah, Lumos also subbed in for Loosely Lesbians during Alpha Besties.
Yeah.
In the grand finals to play on Denver, which he gets like 20 ping to, and this game should be on Denver. So Lumos is really comfortable, actually.
Yeah, I never thought about that as well. We get so many complaints about like the Denver server specifically, and ooh, good barrage from Striker Kai to actually knock it away from both Lumos and Spencer. But going back to Denver, I feel like it's very rare we hear someone talk about Denver as like the good server that they get 20 ping to. I think there's only one other OS player that I can think of. I might even be lying here. I don't have it confirmed, but I think it's Bertram who gets a really good ping to Denver, but it's in the 30s, I know. But
I know
so, yeah.
Moffin Covey gets like 20 ping to Denver and like 8 ping to Dallas, I've heard.
Where does he live? I mean, don't answer that, but what? I got like 40 when I lived in Tech. Hey, life is unfair. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes the kids get really good internet. So props to him, lucky him. But going going back to the game as I walk away from the hit stun of Westy ping, Twisty is gonna actually find a crucial KO, getting the goal and the core flip out from Spencer. So now going into a core Requiem, once again find themselves kind of advantage here in the set, I believe.
Yeah, that's definitely. Core Requiem needs to win this set. If the X-Air team gets up 2 sets, you should really just expect them to win the game at some point. It Finding these cute little goals and just managing to use the Kai Barrage, which does actually have a good interaction into Mako secondary, is really important. And we're seeing Striker Kai now able to get a little spot with the core. However, a good defense by Spencer and Lumos working off of each other, Lumos blocking the barrage and just making it a really hard to score on situation.
Yeah, and again, mentioned it earlier, but the win condition here is getting those kind of like those long-term KOs. So every second on the field is another second where Core Requiem is going to have to kind of, pull themselves up by the bootstraps and get those points there. But as it's going to come out, though, Gemini is going to be the one sniping away that final goalie barrier, which means that Core Requiem, again, in an advantage state here, almost goes past Spencer, but the increased strike range on Mako will keep it in play. The flip does come out from Lumos, has a bar of evade to work with as well, so he's not going to be immediately punished for that. The beam comes down onto Twisty, which means that he won't be able to score for just now, but Striker Kai is giving him opportunity after opportunity. Flip comes out from Spencer. Now Striker Kai has the opportunity to score. The flip comes out and a straight shot goes right past 2 members of Orbits, and that is Core Requiem finding themselves up 2 sets, 1 set away from taking the game.
Confident shot by Striker Kai, managing to get the set, and a very important one. Now, there's no huge awakening for the X-Air team to get that can really, completely change the game this set. They're all in the next set, and that's a really good spot to be in if you're Core Requiem.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 sparks as well. Spark of Strength, 2 sparks, Spark of Strength with the 1-2, and the specialized training also coming down to this X as well. I think that's going to be quite a bit of damage coming in this next set, but that's still double sides with the Siphoning Wand on Ignis, so definitely no slouch as well. I'm interested to see how this will play out in the set.
Yeah, Twisty has 2 sparks now too, both CDR spark and strength spark, which is going to provide a lot of damage and just let them fight back this X-Air team. Ignis getting low now, and it's really hard for Orbits to find the barriers and win this round unless they somehow manage to stall it out.
Yeah, and good defense from Lumos and Spencer to keep it from ending right then and there, but Twisty, again, almost has flip. Striker Kai also has flip himself, but he's actually going to just find a demon angle off of the drums in the center, and that's even better. I mean, 3 flips are about to come out for the side of Core Requiem going into this point.
Yeah, and wonderful spot. Spencer's a goalie who I would consider more like Lilybun than I would like Barcode, right? You want to see him on Aimee or like Finny. You don't want to see him on Atlas, Mako, Dubu. And he's kind of being forced onto the Mako here, which I don't really like. I think that's not how Orbits is going to beat Core Requiem. And I feel like we're seeing a lot of goals where it just feels like Spencer's not very comfortable on the Mako.
Yeah. And I mean, look at that. Confidence in play. Gemini basically just finding a KO onto the enemy brawler. Definitely another person that is super, super comfortable, more closer to Barcode than the Lilybun. And right now, though, looking at the forwards, it's going to be Ignis taking a beating to help on the defense. It's not going to mean much, though, as now Striker Kai finds himself with one more opportunity. Twisty barely missing out on the strike to end that point. The Maelstrom comes out from Lumos. He's going to manage to kick it away from the bull rush of Twisty as the ensnare drums now go down on Ignis to stall a little bit of time for Striker Kai to rotate back. Now we're going to be in overtime. The X Maximus comes out, almost scores it right then and there, but this time the demon angle won't be found off the drums. Striker Kai uses the barrage to get it forward, loses the strike ward to Lumos. Now the Maelstrom blowing a critical amount of energy before Striker Kai got his flip, and now Core Requiem is going to have to defend a little bit longer, but a nice pass down to Twisty means that he'll be set up perfectly to win that 50-50 against Spencer, and now 1 point from Core Requiem taking the game.
Yeah, and it just feels like the X-Air team was never really able to scale, and also Spencer not taking the power of Pauldrons it's really difficult for Mako to be as strong of a defensive force as she can be without the powerhouse. And some of these goals are just slipping by simply because of lack of size and tools to work with.
Yeah. Really clean KO actually coming out from Ignis using the hit stun and the spec training. That's going to lead to a double power play here. Zemo Gemini, though, if there is a man in the league to survive this power play, it is going to be Xeno Gemini, but unfortunately that won't come out just quite yet. But it will come out right there in an even more critical moment. Flip in front of the net is going to be saved away by that extended hitbox of the Maka. Now Spencer, 1v1 against Twisty. Nothing to worry about right now as he's got the flip, but he is going to have to blow it eventually to prevent that 2v1 situation from happening. Double and snare drums come out. The core is flying around for a little bit, but Xeno Gemini's kind of have to burn that dodge in order to survive that Maelstrom. Now, Striker Kai, Twisty, and Lumos all in a race to see who could get flipped first. Maybe it won't matter. Yes, it will. As the core is once again clear to the top side. Twisty again with an opportunity to score here. It has that flip, has it, staggers Lumos away, but it's going to lead to a demon angle into Xeno Gemini's goal, and oh my gosh, it looked like Core Requiem had it, but it just slips from their grasp.
Yeah, it looked like, honestly, Xeno was kind of victim of the passive bug on Mako, where you kind of like, it doesn't instantly track to your cursor position, and as a result, missed the primary, and the core went in.
Unlucky! That is unlucky. No other words to really describe that. Is again, speaking of just bad luck, Twisty and Xeno Gemini seeming to face a good bit of it right now as two barriers go down. Lumos has the flip, doesn't quite find what he wants, but finds a KO instead, which is a good little consolation prize. Now Ignis with a 1v1 with Xeno Gemini here. The bull rush goes wide, which gives Xeno Gemini an opportunity to clear with a flip. It's actually going to be sent right back in his face, and like that, now we have an open net for the side of Core Requiem.
Yeah, and if Orbits manages to pull out this round, it's huge because there's one round away from actually managing to find the scaling. They still have a lot of important awakenings left to find, and unfortunately that KO on Ignis, though, going to make it hard. Spencer has to hold here.
Yeah, and now Spencer is going to save it, but it's going to cost him his life. Now Lumos in 1v3 situation. The Tycho bounce is just too fast to respond to, even with the flip. And just like that, Core Requiem's going to be taking the game and putting themselves in an advantage state here on this series 1-0.
Yeah, and that's definitely the spot you want to be in now. I think we kind of just saw Core Requiem pick largely what you would expect them to. Xeno's been playing a lot of the Mako lately. Twisty, after Zentaro ban, will obviously pick X, and Striker Kai on his signature Kai. They still have the Octavia waiting in the wings, so still the question of what if we just like let the Zentaro go through and we ban the Mako and we give Spencer's like a more comfortable character like Aimi or Finny. I'm curious to see what Orbits decides to respond with. I think in general, having more agency on Lumos and like putting him on something besides the era would be good, along with giving Spencer a little more agency to work with by putting him on a range goalie and just in a more comfortable position would be a good response in my view.
Definitely agreed. And speaking about midfielders that might give Lumos that agency, I'm gonna guess something. I'm kind of stabbing in the dark here, but I'm gonna guess like a now pick. I know that's something that he's played a lot, especially during like when Westy Wednesday was starting up. He's basically spamming now. That of course that was a bit of a different meta than we have right now. What do you think? If you could make a guess right now, what do you think Lumos would pick here to kind of grant themselves that potential?
Now is good. He could also do Striker Kai, honestly. I think, or sorry, Striker Kai.
Yeah.
He could also lock in the Striker Kai. And mirror Striker Kai himself, because that's a pick that I know Lumos for. He picked it during Alpha Vesties, actually, and had a really pop-off game in Grand Finals, and just seems really comfortable on the pick. Actually, it looks like Game 2 is Clarion Test Chamber, so on this map, I could see Lumos returning to the era. I could see him actually pull out his Juno. I know he has that in the back pocket. Aimi is also a really good pickup for him here. It looks like Ignis is on the goalie role.
Whoa. Whoa.
Oh, this is something they've... Okay, I saw them play this in a solo queue game.
Oh?
So, Ignis goes eject button Zentaro goalie. And they're not reading it, so they're not banning Zentaro. As a result, so Spencer's going to actually play goalie, but Ignis will have the eject button to work with, and it's a very goofy comp that lets them just kind of stall out rounds and lets Ignis be wherever he wants to be and pull off really funny Zentaro things. I Apparently it happened in Nassau West Season 1 with a Palme on eject buttons and Taro on Autumn City 2, so
Huh.
not the first time this has been pulled out, but
I've
a
learned two
unique and
things
fun comp.
today. Yeah, yeah. I'm curious. I think I'm more morbidly curious than anything to see how this will go out, but hey, I mean, it's already proving well. Ignis is there where he needs to be with that eject button, so a little bit of extra forward pressure means that one goalie barrier is going to go down. We'll see if Twisty can return it.
Yeah, and so Spencer has picked the Atlas with this comp traditionally before. I know he feels comfortable on the pick. I really like to see Spencer on his range goalie, so I'm not a fan of this. Good goal there by Twisty, pushing Spencer into the resurrection, not able to defend while he's in stasis. And yeah, I like seeing range goalies. Obviously, I play with Lilybun. I'm a little biased, but I would have wanted to see that during the series, and hopefully they can take it to a game 3 where the Aimee pick or Finny pick might make more sense to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Striker Kai again, it's gonna end up pulling out the Vam Brace. I'm not too sure. When I see, I mean, Zentaro obviously has a lot of damage, but when I see like a Drakkar Atlas, I'm honestly not expecting too much damage to fly my way unless the Drakkar gets that like heavy impact, maybe. So I'm kind of questioning the decision here. Maybe you see something that I don't here on this pick.
Yeah, I'm not like the biggest fan of the Drakkar in this team comp. It doesn't feel super necessary, but it's fine. Drakkar kind of like can slot into a lot of comps and do things even if he's not like as effective as other picks. I know Striker Kai is a big Drakkar fan, and I think with Centauro, like with Centauro and Mako, like you can kind of see it a little better than you can with Alice. I'm just not a fan of Alice in this meta right now, so it
Yeah.
just feels hard to justify having that pick.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I mean, Drakkar actually, as a midfielder, does like size quite a bit for the bigger sweet spot on the shotgun, but I feel like
Yeah,
Zentaro doesn't super care about size as much. Of course, he's a brawler, so anything that lets you win Strike Wars is going to be good, but it's just simply not the same as a Juliet or an X getting size, right? So I'm
I think it's
interested to see. Oh,
yeah, I think it's not the same. I do think people probably undervalue size a little bit on Centauro. I think the primary being bigger, along with the ult like radius getting bigger, is an important.
oh,
It's an unfortunate bouncy house goal, but being bigger is just really useful, and having your abilities cover more space is extremely useful. So having that, especially against like an Atlas who has a lot of clears that are more predictable, like he has a straight line primary along with a circle thing that kind of just bounces it back. Um, you can catch a lot of the abilities with having larger hitbox as in Taro, and we might see that interaction come into play.
yeah. I think look at this. This is an interesting draft. Of course, like normally in normal situations, the Mako would go for that super search there, but I think the way that things lined up actually meant that the hot shot was a better take. Run us through that. I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so it looked like the Mako took Hotshot. I think you can argue that. So okay, Hotshot and Reverb were both up. You could argue that giving one to your Drakkar would be good since he just ended up with Spec, which is kind of not that great. However, the Mako taking Hotshot is on its own pretty good. She gets a good amount of value out of it. She doesn't always hit characters with her abilities, but a good amount of her abilities do end up hitting characters a lot of the time. Or sorry, the core. Um, and as a result, the Lumos ends up with only Super Surge, is essentially the point of that draft, and he has to deny it. And him denying Super Surge isn't really like it's okay on him, but his stealth doesn't do any damage. It's pretty chill.
Yeah. And I think we're seeing the effects of that already. Twisty picking up a prize fighter, which in itself can be a win condition for basically any brawler that picks it up. And with the siphoning, I just forgot this as well. I mean, the rapid fire siphoning wand combo is just huge on basically any character. So interesting to see how that draft played out. I think that was, yeah, interesting. It's interesting. I've got one word to describe that right now as I'm trying to pay attention
Yeah,
to a few different things. Yeah.
and also, yeah, Ignis like getting the 1 spark on a 3 spark draft is really unfortunate. And he like it's actually really good you mentioned the rapid fire siphoning interaction because that makes the eject button on Ignis a lot weaker. They can just get out damage, and I think that's kind of what we're seeing. The Atlas isn't able to output enough healing to really counteract that.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. That's it's definitely going to be scary a bit here for Orbits as Twisty finds himself with a goal with that flip. And this is, despite, the earlier games being kind of a bit more back and forth, it really looks like Core Requiem's just running away with this one.
Yeah, it feels like Orbits had a neat comp idea in mind, and then they kind of got screwed by the Awakening start. Getting rapid fire and not being able to take advantage of the siphoning wand interaction and having increased abilities just makes it so this comp has a really difficult time functioning. And also having Mako instead of the Atlas, I think, is just a pretty big advantage for this Korakuen team. Zeno barely missing the cool little core flip angle, doing a Luna Cry, but luckily Twisty still puts it in for him.
Yeah, it just looks it just looks crazy for the side of Core Requiem. It looks really, really easy to find the conversions and the damage that they just basically want. And now Twisty finds himself with kind of the pick of the litter. I mean, the heavy impact is just sitting right there, but he can go for something like the Egoist or even the Big Fish if he wanted to.
Yeah, and now with Twisty able to get the heavy impact, he's going to do so much damage. The Egoist on Lumos is going to be a little bit of a win con they can play for. Maybe they can drag out rounds long enough to just get a random goal. But it's really hard. You're in a position where you just have to burn so many resources evading the damage from Zentaro, and Quick Strike just went off the board there, so there's no Quick Strike Egoist you can play for even if you win the round. And the red team is going to keep on scaling in damage and getting more and more scary.
Yeah, absolutely. Despite that, it's actually going to be Twisty, the first person who'd be staggered here on this set, but they just can't find the KO here, which means it's going to be an open net here for the side of Orbits. The Celestial Intervention does come down, but it's only going to do so much work as both Lumos and Ignis are finding themselves low on stagger. Ignis is going to be sent off the map, but a nice little expanse is going to also snipe away Twisty. So we're going to find ourselves in a 2v2 for just a little moment now. Striker Kai, though, with a scoring opportunity, but it's going to be easily cleared away by Spencer. Now both Ignis and Twisty are going to conclude the power play, and a nice flip from Striker Kai is going to send it right past Spencer, and now 2 points away from closing out the series.
A good little goal there. Now we are looking at Striker Kai having no evade, so there's a window here where maybe you can find some damage stack on him and kill him, or somehow find a goal, but it looks like Orbits isn't even really going for that. Lumos uses both shotguns trying to like snipe a little barrier out, and they managed to get the barrier, which is good. But now after using that ultimate and not really getting anything from it, it's a hard position to be in. You're kind of just hoping for a miracle at this point.
Yeah, definitely. It looks really hard, and Twisty does not have a prize fighter stack right now, which is maybe a little bit of respite, but it's just going to be so hard for the side of Orbis to really get anything done, it seems. But Lumos does have Egos here. Maybe he can make a play, but he's losing some Strike Wars, which eventually that time is going to run out, and there it goes. And Twisty now has an opportunity to score here. Doesn't find it. Lumos, though, is going to be staggered, having an orb denied away from him, and he's going to have to get his life back from somewhere, or he might be sent off the map. Good core flip anti-stuff, though, coming out from Xeno Gemini. Lumos having to play a little bit aggressive, while Ignis is just trying to get some damage onto Twisty, but it's going to be finding himself staggered with that flip. No, the flip goes wide, which means just like that, Twisty now has an opportunity to score, but he sends it right into the Atlas primary. The core will be going just for a little while longer, but that's just going to set up Striker Kai for a team player shot into the bottom side of the net, and now we're 1 point away from Core Requiem taking the series.
Yeah, and even when the rounds stall out now, it's still really hard for Orbits to find a win because Requiem has this team player. It's really easy for them to find these windows around the Atlas, who's a little immobile. He only has slick kicks and peak performance. That's the only source of his head move speed, so he has to make initial contact with the core. Otherwise, he's only really at a plus. You actually can't see the plus from spectator, so I can't tell. But he doesn't have that much move speed,
Yeah.
and it's hard for him to find the core.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to make it hard as well. Basically, anytime the core starts really, really accelerating, but might not even get to that point as Lumos with a nice little core flip shotgun is going to send it right past Xeno Gemini. So even though they're 1 point away from losing, it's not just quite over yet for the side of Orbits.
Yeah, if they manage to win this round, they can definitely. I'm blanking on which awakenings are still in the pool, but there's probably something impactful that they can look at and maybe like turn around this game. It's obviously a hard spot to be in, but finding a quick barrier there, and I just got a ton of packet loss, so I don't know what happened, but Spencer saving the goal.
Yeah, Spencer saving the goal, doing the thing that the Atlas is known for, and that's going to be an open goal here for the side of Core Requiem, but Lumos might have to pay for that with his life, barely managing to hold on for now. Is playing forward to make sure that anyone that wants to KO him will have to rotate back to do so. So, Gemini not going to have too many opportunities to KO here with a Mako, and unfortunately with a perfect pitch going wide, it's going to be, actually uses the pass to get the KO, but that's still extra resources blown for Spencer and Ignis to maybe make a play here on the 2v2. Unfortunately, it's just going to be cleared over to the top side. Perfect pitch comes out, but is not able to intercept the core. Lumos now back into play again, and oh no! An unfortunate blink! Basically self KO from Ignis might be curtains here if Striker Kai and Twisty are able to make a power play, and that they do. The goalie is now down. It's still a 2v3 situation. Striker Kai trying to get the final barrier, ends up managing to get it, has the team player, and is 1 or 2 redirects from the flip. He won't even need it as Twisty gets the hit stun with the Centauro secondary, and that's going to be Core Requiem taking the series over Orbits 2-0.
Yeah, good win from Core Requiem. They really look like a team that's been scrimming. I know they have. Xeno Gemini asked me for scrims actually like every other week at this point. Um, and they just look like they are comfortable with each other. They've been playing together. They have a very clear game plan in mind. I feel like when they load in, where it's basically, hey, we have this amazing defensive goalie who's basically an asshole level, and they just go to town and they show some really good performances every game. Meanwhile, Orbits, I feel like they just need more time to cook with each other. They have some neat comp ideas in mind. I feel like they're probably trying to have a little bit more fun, it looks like, given the comp that they're trying out. But I believe last week was also a pretty difficult week for them, and they kind of just got 2-0'd. I obviously game one was a lot closer than how game two ended up looking, and I think they do have some things to look forward to in the future as they find more time together and are able to use like the looking pretty big character pools of Spencer and Lumos, because Spencer now playing these Atlas Mako picks in addition to the range goalies he was playing last season a lot shows that he's a more versatile player and can definitely grow in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And today, I think the motif of our two series were substitutes making their debut into the league. And I think Twisty did well today. I think he showed up beating Ignis here on the Zentara matchup. Of course, getting a little bit lucky with the starting awakenings, but a win is still a win. I think Twisty played very well today and definitely filled in that role that he needed to be here in Core Requiem and able to pull out the win here against Orbits. Of course, I think at the end of the day, okay, comparison is a thief of joy. I'm not going to go into it. I think Twisty played very, very well. I think that Core Requiem, I completely agreed with all the points you've said. They've been looking really good as a team. They look like they've been scrimming a lot. They look like that they have been really, really practicing and putting themselves to the grindstone to kind of improve themselves. And I'm excited to see where they go from here. We are only in week 2 of the leagues after all. So I'm definitely excited to see more, but that's not it for the North American Strikers Academy today. While we won't be covering the rest here at BestieInSlot, we will be moving on to the series after this. I believe we're gonna be sending it over to Flop Dwop. I think he's the series that's up next. Correct me, production, if I'm wrong. But we're gonna be sending it over to the next team that will be streaming it over on their own channels. So just stay tuned and watch some more Omega Strikers if you'll want to stick around for a little bit. Omega Strikers won't be going anywhere. But before we head off for the day, Liari, any parting thoughts?
Um, I'm sorry, what was the next series?
I Let me double check. I'll just double check. I wanted to stare at the camera for like the dramatic effect, but I'm going to tear away to look really quick.
Oh,
Uh,
you're so valid.
I think it is the Fools versus Five Guys.
Oh, that
That'll
is
be
such
coming
an
up next.
exciting series. The Fools have had some really unfortunate performances recently, but I think they're really looking to bounce back with this game, while Five Guys is really looking to prove themselves. They're like a bunch of these new players who are really exciting to watch, and they also had a really disappointing week one, but I think this match will be really close and really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dran has been looking like an absolute beast on the side of Five Guys lately, and I think that Flop and Three Deaths are kind of like getting to that point where they're starting to get the forward synergy going on. So I'm excited to see that. And then after that as well, it's actually going to be a bit of a classic. PPL versus PLX going to be rounding off the day. So we've got more exciting Omega Strikers coming up. But for now, that'll be it from me and Liari. Hope you all are keeping warm in these during these winter months, and we'll be seeing you around soon.